Hi, this is Jen, the Holistic Health Boss, your functional diagnostic health practitioner and expert. And this week I want to talk to you guys about how to prevent, reverse, or heal autoimmune conditions, and specifically how your gut can play a huge role in that. So as somebody with an autoimmune condition, I have Hashimoto's, one that affects the thyroid. I know firsthand how important healing your gut can be to reversing your autoimmunity. Working on my gut health has been something that I've been doing for a long time, and something that I focused on even more once I got my diagnosis with Hashimoto's. And it's been a huge part in what has helped me not only reverse my Hashimoto's, but also to start weaning off of my thyroid medication in as little as 4 months. Now, when I work with clients who have autoimmune conditions, working on gut and digestive health are two of the main focal points, and I'm going to get into that in more detail with you guys later about why that is so important. But this will change their lives as it has changed mine, and I want to share this information with you guys today. And this is something to be talked about because autoimmune conditions are popping up and becoming more and more common or frequently diagnosed, and they're starting to show up in unprecedented numbers like we've never seen before. So the American Autoimmune Disease Association, or Related Disease Association, states that they estimate that about 20% of the US population, that's about 50 million Americans, or 1 in 5 people, is suffering from some type of autoimmune condition, whether they know it or not. And the majority of those people are actually women. They estimate that 75% of those people that are suffering with autoimmunity are actually women, and this is oftentimes going misdiagnosed or overlooked. But gut health, either way, can be a huge part of this. Now, an autoimmune condition shows up in the body when your immune system starts attacking healthy tissues or healthy cells because it's gotten confused, usually as a result of chronic inflammation. Now, there can be certain conditions that can put you on the spectrum or can be related to autoimmune conditions also. So some of these include acne, obesity, allergies, arthritis, asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, cardiovascular disease. All of those are inflammatory diseases that can either be a trigger for autoimmunity or can be happening in relation to autoimmunity already existing. So inflammation is a huge factor in somebody turning up with autoimmunity. Now you might be wondering, well, how does somebody get autoimmunity in the first place besides these conditions that maybe can put you at risk for it? Well, they say that 3 things have to be in place for autoimmunity to actually show up in the body. One is that you have to have the gene for it. There is a hereditary component. So this is where it may be important to know as much about your family history as possible. Does anybody in your family suffer from, autoimmune issues already? Or maybe they suffer from things like thyroid or psoriasis or eczema or some of these other inflammatory diseases, and their autoimmunity has just gone overlooked for some period of time. So that is the first component, is there is some type of hereditary gene component. Now the second component is that you have to have leaky gut. So leaky gut is what depresses your immune system and sets you up for a possible autoimmune condition. And the third part is some type of environmental trigger. Now essentially this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. So once you have the gene for it, and then you also maybe have leaky gut, and then you have some type of environmental trigger that inflicts chronic inflammation for a long period of time and eventually switches on flips the switch for the body to present with autoimmunity. Now, with all of this being said, genetics is not the one that carries the largest weight here. Dr. Amy Myers quotes in her book, The Autoimmune Solution, that about 25% of autoimmunity is a result of a hereditary component, and then 75% of it is because of environmental triggers or leaky gut, essentially. So again, this goes back as to why the gut becomes so essential in whether it's preventing, reversing, or healing autoimmune conditions. Now the gut is a key component here for 3 main reasons that I want to go through with you guys today. So the first one is that nutrient absorption becomes impaired. So whenever we have depressed gut function or depressed immune system, or our gut is just jacked up and not working well, then that means that we're not absorbing nutrients like we think that we are, or optimally. And if we're deficient in certain nutrients, then that can set us up for autoimmunity if you don't have it. Or if you do have an autoimmune issue and you're trying to take all these supplements and eat all this healthy food to absorb nutrients to support your body's healing process, if you have a damaged gut, then that maximal absorption is not happening. So this is the first, like I said, main reason why working on gut health is super important for preventing, healing, or reversing autoimmunity. You want to boost your nutrient absorption so that you can support your body to prevent an autoimmune condition, or if you're dealing with one, you want to boost absorption and digestion through improving your gut health so that your body can get all of the nutrients that it needs to actually heal itself. Now, the second component is a big one too. It's something that I refer to as gut invaders, and this includes any bacteria, parasites, or yeast overgrowth. And these are overlooked all of the time. I mean, a lot of my autoimmune clients that come to work with me, they have worked with some really great practitioners in the past that are working on a bunch of really amazing things for them, but somehow they're overlooking this huge component. There are certain parasites, bacteria, and even yeast that can be some of these triggers for autoimmunity, like I was talking about earlier. So remember, you have to have three things in place: the gene for it, leaky gut, and an environmental trigger. And some of these bacteria, parasites, and yeast can be one of those environmental triggers. Certain species like Klebsiella or H. pylori bacteria, or certain parasites like Blastocystis hominis can all be a trigger for autoimmunity. Or if you have autoimmunity, they can actually make it worse. These gut invaders create a lot of chaos internally. They also create a lot of toxins and inflammation. So again, this continues to damage the gut lining with this inflammation and toxins. It contributes to chronic inflammation, which is one of the roots of autoimmunity, and inflammation is the root of all disease, or chronic stress in relation to that is as well. So checking your gut, doing a stool sample test at least once or a couple times a year, depending on what your need is, to be working on getting rid of, eradicating some of these overgrowths is really important. Now, I do want to say that it is normal to have a little bit of growth of some of these things in your gut. It does keep the ecosystem in there healthy, but when they show up as a positive on a stool sample test, that means that they become an overgrowth, and that's where they're creating a problem, an imbalance of good flora to bad flora that's going on in the gut, inflammation, and the excess of toxins. So this could be a huge healing opportunity if you haven't looked into this yet, for either if you're preventing it or for reversing and healing. And the third component is inflammation. Inflammation is really the biggest part when it comes to preventing, reversing, or healing autoimmune conditions. And chronic inflammation is really where we see the problem. So there's two types of inflammation. There's acute inflammation that happens when you get a bump or a bruise or break something or hurt something, your body swells to protect that area and to heal it. And then we have chronic inflammation that happens chronically over time from chronic stress. So chronic stress could be, the foods that you're putting in your body that are inflammatory, mental, emotional stress from work. It can also be gut invaders, like I was just talking about. And when you have accumulation of all these things, then chronic inflammation becomes even greater. And what happens is this chronic inflammation basically creates like a fog in the body for the immune system, where the immune system, like your personal protection, your personal army that's in there that protects you against viruses and infections, it can't see through the fog anymore, and it can't tell the difference between basically the good tissue and the bad tissue, and that's how autoimmunity appears. So inflammation in the gut can be really widespread, which is why, again, working on gut health can be extremely important. And this goes down to like looking at what foods are creating inflammation, again, looking at what gut invaders are creating inflammation, and maybe implementing some healing or anti-inflammatory substances like certain supplements like L-glutamine or fish oils to help reduce inflammation. So again, when I work with clients or even with myself, in relation to autoimmunity, I'm working on all these factors. We're working to boost nutrient absorption through like using things such as digestive enzymes. We're running stool sample tests to look at gut invaders that can be creating inflammation and toxicity, and then also adding in some elements that are going to help to soothe and reduce inflammation that's in the gut overall. And 80% of your immune system is located in the gut. So autoimmunity directly related to your immune system. When the immune system is suppressed because of poor gut health, again, that's what puts you at risk for an autoimmune condition or prevents you from reversing or healing it like you want to. So the gut is a key factor when it comes to preventing, reversing, or healing autoimmune conditions for those three main reasons. And there's a plethora of other reasons as to why, but those are the three main points that I wanted to share with you guys this week.